everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, The Keys to Nurturing Candidates Like a Marketer. We have an awesome presentation for you today featuring SmashFly's Elise Schmidt and Glassdoor's Alicia Garibaldi. Welcome to the webinar today. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items I'd like to review with you. You can connect to the audio today using your computer's microphone and speakers, or you may also select to call in using the details under the Quick Start tab after joining the webinar here in WebEx. All lines are going to be muted to avoid background noise. We'll also be doing a live Q&A at the end of today's webinar, and you can ask questions at any time by submitting your question in the Q&A panel. Please don't submit it in the chat panel, as we won't be monitoring the chat panel for questions. We'll also be live tweeting during today's webinar, and we'd love it if you could join in on the discussion with us. We'll be using the hashtag GDChat and @SmashFly to join in on the conversation on Twitter, and we'll see you out there. Now I'd like to introduce today's speakers. First up, we have Elise Schmidt, who's the content strategist here at SmashFly. Elise owns everything content marketing and social media at SmashFly. She spent 5 years in digital marketing and content marketing agencies before taking her talents to the talent acquisition world. Now she thrives on helping talent acquisition leaders and recruiters learn and excel in marketing best practices to bolster their recruitment marketing strategies and improve the candidate experience. Next up, we have Alicia Garibaldi, who is the Senior Content Manager here at Glassdoor. Alicia is the author of Employer Branding for Dummies and Recruitment Marketing for Dummies, and brings 10 years of experience in advertising, marketing, and human resources to her role as Senior Content Marketing Manager. At Glassdoor, Alicia conducts monthly webinars, develops original content marketing assets, and contributes to thought leadership pieces on the company's blog and social media channels. We're so excited to have you both here today. Before we kick off the presentation, I'd just like to quickly review the agenda for today. First, we're going to take a look at what Nurture is and the role that it plays in a recruitment marketing strategy. We'll also tell you how to use Nurture throughout each stage of the candidate journey, from attraction to application to hire. We'll also show you how to build a more engaged talent network through Nurture. We'll tell you why candidates decline job offers, and give you some key examples of how organizations are using Nurture tactics both pre-apply and post-apply. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it off to Elise to get started. Elise?
Great. Thanks so much for the intro, Deirdre. I'm super pumped to be presenting this with Alicia from Glassdoor today, since this was our brainchild from an ebook that we wrote together on nurturing candidates, and it's always so fun working with Glassdoor. So we're really excited to get started. Today is all about Nurture. So we're going to be talking about how Nurture fits into recruitment marketing. And a Nurture strategy is integral in creating a more seamless and personalized candidate journey from that first touch point all the way to hire. It's really what's going to drive your leads to become applicants. So let's get started. Before we get into Nurture, we all have to be on the same page about recruitment marketing. And we at SmashFly hear and see a ton of different definitions, and I'm sure you see the same, Alicia. And one of the reasons why we really love to partner with Glassdoor is that they feel very similarly about what recruitment marketing is. So at SmashFly, we define recruitment marketing as every tactic that a talent acquisition team uses to find, attract, engage, and nurture leads to convert them into more qualified applicants, to fill all of your job recs now, and then build a pipeline of qualified candidates for the future. So really, recruitment marketing is important is looking at how all of these tactics integrate together to drive more qualified candidate leads to apply today. And so you're going to hear me use the word lead a lot throughout this webinar, and lead is definitely a marketing term. But here I'm talking about candidates that you want to influence to apply. So we really look at candidates as talent acquisition leads. So in regard to Nurture, we're going to really be mentioning that word a lot, probably with some other marketing speak. So why does recruitment marketing matter now? And it's really become a major theme in talent acquisition, but it's also here to stay, and it's really becoming a true discipline. And that's because candidates today are different. The consumerization of the candidate experience has really changed talent acquisition in the way that candidates candidates are demanding that very relevant, transparent, and personalized experience. They're really researching your company and your employer brand the same way that consumers research products that they're going to buy. So if your brand isn't relevant, personal, engaging, and honest, candidates have so many options that they're just going to move along to one that is. They're doing all of that upfront research before they're even getting to your job. And the second point is that nearly everyone can really be considered a candidate. And Glassdoor has a great stat that 4 in 5 of their users are actively looking for jobs or they're open to better opportunities. So really, most of these users are most likely those passive candidates. And those are the candidates that are going to fill your pipeline now and build a database that you can source from in the future. And so the really good value here is that means you're not starting from scratch every single rack. So these candidate leads are extremely important because these are the ones that you really have to attract and engage, and they're the ones that you're going to nurture. And another reason, and I love this stat, I'm so happy that SmashFly found this nugget of information, is that 74% of candidates who start the application process drop off before they finish it. That's 3/4 of people on your career site searching your jobs right now who were interested enough to click apply but didn't finish that application. And if your only call to action is apply, you're never going to be able to find or contact these 74% of candidates. So if you think about the stat from Glassdoor, if 4 out of 5 people are open to new opportunities, but 3/4 of them are dropping off during apply, this tells you that there really needs to be another way that candidates can express interest and engage with your employer brand. So the really big takeaway here is that not everyone is ready to apply today. And we need to be ready for 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and we're not really doing a great job of this in talent acquisition yet. But the key here is that we will, and that's where nurture comes in. So capturing these candidates in your talent network before they drop off is going to give you the ability to communicate with them so you can find the right opportunity for both your organization and them as well. So you heard me mention a talent network. And this is really key. This is going to be your database of leads that you can nurture. And people talk about talent networks differently. You might have heard them called talent pools or talent communities, but we define a talent network as a database of interested leads who opt in to receive communications from your company. So they're going to really provide that email address or other basic information, and it really means I'm interested. I'm raising my hand to hear more about your company. And it goes hand in hand with nurture. So the 3 main reasons to have a talent network is to build that pipeline. You've been hearing me say that a lot, but a talent network is going to enable you to capture those 74% of candidates who are dropping off. And these are leads who are interested in your employer brand and who live in your CRM or your recruitment marketing platform. They're not in your ATS. So these are people that it's basically a database that's growing, living, and breathing, and they're accessible to your communication ongoing. The second reason is nurture. So with a talent network, your ability to nurture these warm leads. They've opted into communication, and they're not going to be shocked when they hear from you because they actually want to hear from you. So the more relevant and valuable information you send them based on their preferences, the more they're going to want to hear and engage with your brand. And the third aspect here is strengthening your candidate profiles. So this is something that we love in marketing, is building those candidate personas. And by tracking clicks and engagement and learning more about what your candidates are consuming, you're really going to be able to build those personas and understand what types of candidates, maybe engineering candidates or people that want to know more about sales, what really speaks to them. So tracking that data in terms of consumption and what they're opening and what they're clicking on is so key in really proving what's working and how to build that nurture strategy. So before we really get into nurture, and I know I've been teasing this a lot, but you don't just start nurturing, right? You need to have that database of people, of warm leads. And those leads just don't show up in your database. So there's really 3 steps that comes in a recruitment marketing strategy before you can start nurturing. And the first step is find, right? So this is sourcing from scratch based on the critical skills you prioritize. The result is targeted pipelines of cold leads that are added to your recruitment marketing platform or your CRM that you can reach out to engage. So it's finding those people and really identifying them. Step 2 is attract. And I love this stat. We use it a lot in SmashFly content, but it takes 12 touch points before a consumer makes a purchase decision. 12. So your job descriptions, career site content, Glassdoor reviews, social media, candidates are searching all of that, but before they're even getting to your job. And it's really, they're all really points of influence that are impacting a candidate's decision to opt into to communication with your organization. So they're touch points, but they're also opportunities. So your employee brand really has to be strong and unique in all of these touch points. You can influence candidates along the way. And that third step is engage, right? So this is how you're actually going to engage leads to opt into your organization. And that's going to be through opting into that talent network. And it could be directly within the apply flow, before the application, a tab on your Facebook page, a link on your LinkedIn profile. There's really a lot of ways that you can present candidates with that call to action to opt into the talent network. And so once you hit that engagement point, that means they've opted in, they've raised their hand, and this is where your nurture strategy really, really comes into play. So let's finally define nurture. Nurture is simply communicating to the right candidate with the right message at the right time. And in marketing, this is really the fun part for us. You're really trying to influence how leads are turning into customers, or in talent acquisition's case, applicants. And I really think as talent acquisition starts getting more savvy and nurture, you guys are really going to see that it's the fun part as well. So I'll borrow from our Director of Recruitment Marketing, Tracy Parsons here. She said something really great. You don't just propose to someone you see walking down the street. You get to know them first. And nurture is that courtship between your organization and your lead. It's really how you're going to build that relationship and get to know them, but it's also going to allow them to get to know your company and your employer brand, which will really drive that cultural fit and give you more qualified applicants. Because if they're not really a fit, they most likely won't apply. And so when does this courtship start? You know, you're using sourcing, social media, job ads, career site, all in the awareness stage. But if they're not taking that one call to action, if they're not applying, they haven't opted in yet to any communication with you. So that's why talent networks are so important. And so let's really get into the candidate journey. The candidate journey is really nurtured life cycle. And so how we describe the candidate journey here is similar to how marketing uses the buyer's journey. The stages differ a little bit, but I just want to give kind of an overview of how we see it in terms of recruitment marketing's relationship with recruiting. So the top half of the funnel is focused on finding and attracting candidate leads, engaging them and nurturing them into the opportunity is right. So those leads you're really trying to influence them to convert into an applicant. So that's recruitment marketing. That's the top half of the funnel. And then the bottom half of the funnel focuses on applicants. So that's selecting the right qualified applicants to bring in for interviews in order to make the best hires for your organization. And that's really recruitment's role. So nurture should be used throughout this entire candidate journey because there are touch points and interactions between the candidate and your organization all the way to hire. Nurture does not stop after a candidate applies. That's really a key point here. And if you think about it in more of a consumer fashion, so if you make a purchase from, say, Amazon or Target, yes, you may continue to buy from these stores if you never hear from either brand again. But think about the emails and the touch points that they send you. They might send you relevant products that relate to what you've already bought. They might be tracking what you put in your cart or what you browse on their site. And so the more that they're giving you these really relevant and personalized items, it's much more likely that you're going to become a repeat customer faster, or you're going to become a stronger advocate of your brand because they're really understanding what you're looking for from their organization. And that really relates very well to the candidate journey and nurture. So what's the goal of nurture? I know that this might sound a little bit foreign to some people on talent acquisition, and it might sound like a lot of work up front. But really, the value is twofold for both the organization and the candidate And so like I mentioned earlier, it's really going to help you drive that better, stronger candidate experience. So really, the three main goals of nurture is, one, that targeted and personalized message, which really makes the candidate feel like you know more about them and that you really care about what they're looking for. So this is the engineering candidate who opts in to hear more about engineering jobs or employee stories from other people on the engineering team or great projects. It will really help you send targeted content to specific job families. And so the second goal means that you should see more leads converting into applicants. So that nurture is really going to help funnel them through the candidate and journey, through awareness to interest to application. And the third goal is that it allows you to own your own database of warm leads. And this is really invaluable, especially, with sourcers and recruiters relying a lot on third-party networks and starting from scratch every single rec. Now you can go into your talent network and source based on job-specific families, and you can market your new jobs to these candidates without relying on external databases. And this talent network is going to be growing. You're going to be learning more about these candidates. So that's the database that you own and that you don't have to start from scratch. And I think that a really telling stat here from the marketing world on the value of lead nurture, Forrester research says that companies that excel at lead nurturing generate 50% more sales-ready leads at a 33% lower cost. So again, the value is twofold. It's going to really decrease your cost in spending to get leads to apply, and they're going to be more qualified and more interested because of all those upfront touch points with your brand. So effective nurture, I say, is the union of valuable content marketing and really smart email marketing. And in order to do that, you really have to understand your candidate and the candidate journey. So how do you get leads into your talent network? Candidates engage with your employer brand and visit your career site through tons of different mediums. So your talent network calls to actions have to be in multiple touch points because candidates are going through the journey from all different ways. So inserting a talent network form in the apply process is really a great way to capture that drop-off. As we said, 3/4 of candidates who are interested drop off. And we hear this all the time from customers and it's a really valid initial thought, but from SmashFly's data, we find that 90% of the talent network opt-ins actually opt in that apply flow. And it's not deterring people from applying. So that's a win-win. You're going to get either someone to fill out the form and get into the talent network, or they're going to continue through and apply. So you're capturing someone either way as either a lead or an applicant. And you can also use calls to action elsewhere on your site, right? So placement in the header or footer of your career site, on your general job search page, on your Facebook page as a tab, in social media promotions, or in your employees' signatures. That's going to really capture more passive candidates who don't even get to your job page. And that's the beauty of candidates, right, is that they can be anywhere.
Absolutely. Great point, Elise. And I want to remind everybody on the line, if you have, great stuff that you want to tweet out, please go on Twitter, use the hashtag GDChat with the handle @SmashFly. We'd love to hear from you and hear all the great takeaways that you're getting from this webinar. And I love what Elise mentioned about, this process and having calls to action in the right places. We preach this a lot at Glassdoor too, that employee engagement happens all the time. You need to be communicating with your candidates and employees all the time to make sure that you're getting feedback to make your company better. And again, put yourself in the candidate's shoes. Run some Google searches. How are they coming to you? We all know that everybody nowadays is on their mobile device buying services. I know for me, I'm not on my computer when I get home. After I handle the kids and all that, I am on my mobile device researching products, buying services, and most people also are looking at companies as well during their commutes. So make sure that you really have a mobilely optimized strategy as well. I know we just added the ability to mobile apply on our Glassdoor app, which users have found very useful. And make sure that as your brand, you're in all the right places. If you're a tech company and you're not on mobile, how does that resonate for candidates? That might come across the wrong way. So just, research everything possible and put yourself in the candidate's shoes as much as you can.
Yep, definitely. Don't just try to guess. This is really where data and experiencing that candidate journey really comes into play. It's going to help you. It's going to help you optimize and be where they're at. So that's a really great point. So a key example, and this is one of my favorite examples and use cases for a talent network. So CH2M is doing some really, really great things in terms of recruitment marketing, lead generation, and nurture. So when SmashFly helped CH2M launch its talent network, it was first just on its career site and Facebook page, and the organization gained 10,000 contacts in the first year. So in the next year, they wanted to do something else, right? They wanted more leads. So CH2M invited previous applicants to join and encouraged its recruiters to invite their prospective candidates to join, which brought the network up to 90,000 contacts. And just this past year, based on some research and some discussion, CH2M decided to add that optional talent network form within their apply flow. And now they have more than 300,000 warm leads worldwide, which is just a stellar number and so awesome. And I know that CH2M has said that that's one of the best recruitment marketing tactics that they've ever that they've really ever implemented. And so when you see that type of database growth of interested candidates, I think that it's pretty interesting to learn that only 27% of the Fortune 500 use a talent network at all. And that's from some SmashFly research from our recruitment marketing report card in the fall of 2015. And really even fewer use it in the apply flow, only 9%. But we're seeing huge results from companies that actually implement it. So my tip of the day here is get started now for an advantage in building your pipeline. You will definitely be ahead of the curve. And using it in the apply flow, you're going to capture so many more candidates that you would have never been able to communicate with. So on to another big question that you guys might be thinking. So what do I include on a talent network form? And it's really easy to get caught up wanting to know everything about your candidates. And I know Alicia and I know doing so many content pieces and webinars, you want to get everything you can from people, but no one wants to fill out 10 boxes, right? Talent acquisition really has to be conscious of having a low barrier of entry. Just ask what's necessary: name, email, job category. That way you can segment your leads by job, and then you can start seeing what they consume and sending preference emails. So over time, building that relationship, you can ask for more information and really understand what types of content they want and how frequent. And Glassdoor actually does this really well. So I know Alicia will add some great stuff here.
Absolutely. Just like Elise said, people are so busy, so you really want to narrow it down to the most important information that you want them to fill out in order to, have them enter that talent network and get to know them. And on Glassdoor, partner with sites that actually have targeted job alerts. So I know on Glassdoor, we do a lot of targeting based on who the user is and where they're located. And we send emails to those users saying, hey, these jobs would be perfect for you. They're your job title, they're in your demographic, so that it does a lot of that targeting for you. Also when they're typing searches in, it's serving up job ads that would be relevant to that user. So it really factors that in. Make sure that you're partnering with platforms that do that, because they can help do a lot of the targeting for you. And you can also have access to analytics as a result. Since we know who the user is by them filling out profiles and leaving reviews, we can also, make that information available to employers on the back end. So when you sign up for a free employer account, you can see who's researching your page, what age demographic they are, what job titles they're interested in, what are they clicking on most, what's the breakdown between male and female, so that you can really tailor your strategy and ensure that the messaging that you're putting out there is resonating with the right people. We analyze that a ton as marketers. We want to know who they are, like what, when there's an ebook that resonates, who was that person that found it the most useful? so that we can, keep doing what works. Same goes as a recruiter.
Definitely, and technology is really going to give you a lot more help and data in this entire nurture strategy. So all of that stuff is really a great suggestion, and you really have to use data in order to understand your talent network, and that's really what's going to make your nurture strategy more successful. So a key example here is Eaton. And Eaton's Talent Network form captures 1,000 contacts daily, which is crazy and awesome. And what they do is they segment everyone that comes in by 23 core disciplines in SmashFly to build better targeted pipelines of talent. And so based on these core disciplines, the recruiting team can send more relevant messaging and job openings to find the best opportunity for both them, the company, and the candidate. And really the second benefit here is that automatically segmenting these leads is great for sourcing. You don't just have, 30,000 people that you have to go in. You know what they want to know and their job family. So you have those core pipelines of talent that you can directly communicate to and market your new jobs as soon as the rec opens. So it's really twofold in terms of personalization and then also that sourcing aspect. So getting into, this is the really fun stuff. Alicia and I are both in content, so we will try to keep this as concise as possible, but I'm sure that we could have a whole webinar on this. But what do I send my talent network? And this is always a big ask from people in talent acquisition. And content creation is a challenge for a lot of talent acquisition organizations and really a lot of organizations in general. So my charge here is, one, you have to learn your candidates and you have to think creatively. So understand who's in your talent network. Alicia and I have been talking a lot about this, but define who. Understand your personas. Get in their heads. This is what I love about marketing: is understanding your personas and what resonates. So where might they be looking for information about your employer brand? What types of company or employee stories would engage them to read more based on their job families? What do engineers want to hear? What does marketing want to hear? Really think about what those specific pain points and resources they want and craft the content to that. And how can your organization help them? It has to be more about them and less about you. That's really nurture and building that relationship. And then back to getting creative. So everything is content if you utilize it in the right way. Start with your jobs or your Glassdoor reviews. Those are all public. Pull from there. Pull great quotes from what previous or current employees are saying. See what your marketing team is putting out there. The big takeaway here is that not every single piece of content has to be created from scratch by you. You can source external resources as well, curate some content. I know Alicia has some great tips here too.
Absolutely. And I always tell employers their best resource is their employees. And they're such a valuable resource, not only to tell you how to target, candidates just like them, but also to get that message out about jobs, get it more viral. And, by them posting about your company, it's really going to improve your employer brand overnight. Employees rank among the most trusted influencers when communicating about their company engagement and integrity, and that was from Edelman's 2015 Trust Barometer. They are the most valuable resource that you have. People are looking at those reviews. They're looking to the people inside your organization to make decisions whether or not to apply and if you're the right company for them. And if you're, creating and spending a lot of time on this employer brand or, culture that you've created at your organization, and you're putting that message out there and your employees are going on sites like Glassdoor saying something different, your credibility as an employer goes out the window, right? And, users typically read, I think it's up to like 6 reviews before they make a decision, so they're weighing all their options and taking all of that in. But make sure that you run all that messaging and, job descriptions and recruitment marketing that you're doing by your own employees, get their buy-in, and have them help you kind of tweak that message so it makes, the most sense to resonate with the audience that you're trying to reach.
Yes, 100%. You have hundreds and thousands of advocates in your employees, and if you tap them, they want a voice. Make sure you're letting them really tell their stories in their own words. They're being active on social. That's such a huge theme that we're seeing is really like the EVP is reemerging. The employer brand is so vital. And we're really seeing companies and brands letting employees take the reins and really be honest and really be transparent. And these stories are going to resonate all the way on social media from, when you're attracting candidates all the way through application and probably really pushing that acceptance rate if you're actually giving an offer. So really focus on employees and content. I think that's a really great point, Alicia. So let's look at who's doing this in the real world. So CDW is a great company for both SmashFly and Glassdoor to talk about. CDW uses dozens of customized workflow within the SmashFly platform for each of their candidate personas. So they have candidate personas created, and they're personalizing that communication to each one of them. And they use a great combination of employee stories, thank you messages, personal recruiter outreach through email. And so I think that's a really vital point, is mixing up that cadence. Use a combination of mass database emails that have more broad content, and then, intersperse recruiter outreach. Make it more personal. CDW also utilizes its Glassdoor rating, which is really very high, and they use it both pre and post application to convert leads, as well as maintain talent. So that's all public information, great stories that they don't even have to solicit. People are doing that on their own, and that's content for them, and they've seen such huge results and feedback from interspersing that in their nurture strategy. And I mean, that's just content that you can always pull from that people might not think to use, but it really is so valuable, and that Glassdoor name is so important when candidates are researching.
Absolutely. CDW has done a fantastic job on Glassdoor. If you want to go check out their page, they've taken the 5 steps to becoming an open company. This is a program that we have on Glassdoor that signifies to candidates that you're in an open and transparent place to work. And I always tell employers, start there as you're developing your strategy. Look at other open companies on Glassdoor. We have them in every segment, from Allstate, Deloitte, Salesforce, to companies like CDW. And one of those steps is responding to reviews. So it can be a great way to see how other companies are reading and monitoring those reviews on Glassdoor and how they're tailoring the response to resonate with candidates and show them that they're transparent with their messaging and who they are as an employer. So I always say it's a great place to start and make sure that you have that sensible social policy at your company so that you are able to monitor and be active in the conversation. It's so important and can really make all the difference when it comes to your recruiting strategy.
Yep, agreed. So we've kind of gone over a lot of different types of content, but this sort of just wraps it up in a snapshot. And I really think here is transparency, brevity, and value is really extremely important. It doesn't have to be a ton of money that you spend putting into content. It doesn't have to be long-form articles or long videos. Think outside the box. And really think about the things that your organization is already doing and ways that you can just repurpose that in order to get it in front of candidates.
Absolutely, Elise. And as a content marketer, and I know Elise does this too, you have a good piece of content that you know is working, use it like 5 to 7 different ways. Use it in a blog post, have it mentioned in videos, have it posted on the walls at work, in emails, as many different ways as you can get that message out there. We just launched our best places to work list, and I know I loved Airbnb's company slogan, which is, creating a world where you belong anywhere, and they actually apply that to their own employees, belong anywhere at work, which I think is so fantastic. Once you have a fabulous slogan or message, weave that in every different place that you can.
Definitely. You have to really get the most legs out of your content and really repurpose it in as many ways as possible in different mediums, because that content really can manifest itself in multiple different ways through social, on your career site, in video, in a blog post. So I think that's great. 5 to 7 ways. Think about, look at one piece of content and really be creative about how you can use that. So this is kind of the last big question, right, is how technology or what can I automate? I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to think about nurture. Well, this is where automation and technology really comes into play. And it's so important in keeping those consistent touch points and not going dark, right? I mean, if you hear some of the feedback from the Candidate Experience Awards, candidates are saying that recruiters just, once they apply, they never hear from them again. And this is where technology can really come in and automate those touch points. So there really is no candidate left behind, no applicant left behind. You really have to make a conscious effort to not go dark. And as a marketer, it would be impossible for us to nurture our leads and set up different customized tracks without marketing automation technology. We live and die by the HubSpots and the Pardots of the world, and I'm sure Alicia is nodding her head. But marketing automation technology has seen the fastest growth of any CRM-related segment in the last 5 years. And I am certain that we're going to see a huge focus on this in talent acquisition as well. So using automated email reminders or triggers when a candidate takes certain action can greatly increase conversion without recruiters ever having to lift a finger. And the big takeaway here is that automation doesn't have to equal a robot. It doesn't mean be boring. Yes, the email trigger is automated, but personalize the message. Sound like a human. Insert your brand voice. You're allowed to have fun. You're still allowed to be personal in those messages. Technology is a facilitator, right? Your recruitment marketing platform or whatever you're using, that's facilitating the message, but it doesn't become the message. It doesn't have to become the recruiter. So I know that there's been a debate about that technology will take the personal touch away, and it's never going to replace a recruiter. It's really going to help those touch points. So, Alicia, do you have anything to add on that automation debate?
Yeah, Elise, I know. Is it really a debate? I mean, anything I can automate, I do as a marketer. The key is obviously maintaining that personal touch as well. But, that's why it's so important, partner with companies that can help you do this effectively, that do targeted job alerts, that help you target the message for you. Because automation, I know, can save everybody a ton of time.
Definitely, and I think that this next example is going to be a really eye-opening result here. So our customer, the Cheesecake Factory, they use our platform to automatically trigger an email reminder to candidates who don't finish their application. So going back to that stat, you're having drop-offs. Up to 3/4 of candidates are dropping off. So within the SmashFly platform, the Cheesecake Factory can, within 2 days, send that automated trigger that will just remind those leads in their talent network to just finish that application, just prompt them. And in 2014, the Cheesecake Factory made 182 hires out of almost 1,000 candidates that were given that reminder. That's not applications. That's 182 hires. So almost 20%, the Cheesecake Factory actually went on and they became employees. So that speaks on two things, I think. So one, the quality of those people in the talent network. Almost 20% that started the application that went into the talent network form, they were qualified enough for the Cheesecake Factory to hire them. And then two, recruiters didn't have to lift a finger. They didn't have to think about this. Automation took over, and now the Cheesecake Factory is 182 teammates stronger for it. So that's really one of my favorite use cases of automation. And I think that those are really awesome examples. And there's really organizations out there right now that are implementing nurture strategies and seeing huge results in those leads really being influenced to become applicants and also hires. So before I hand it off to Alicia to sort of own the nurture in the post-apply world, just to kind of run over the major points that we went over. So in order to nurture, you really have to have a talent network. You have to have that warm database of leads. So I'm telling you, get on that in 2015. I really encourage you to start thinking about having a talent network, adding multiple CTAs, and capturing those candidates who just aren't ready to apply today. Second, be creative in content. Think outside the box. Repurpose. Just as Alicia said, look at the assets that you have and really think about how you can use those to get in front of candidates and applicants. And then third, use technology. Use automation. Track the data. Track the clicks. track your email open. What subject lines work the best? What job titles work the best? What are you converting on? That type of data and those metrics are really going to help you learn about the type of candidates in your talent network and understand their preferences, and then optimize nurture. Nurture is never done. It's always getting better. So I think that was a great run through in terms of nurture pre-applicant. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Alicia, and she is going to walk through how you can use some of this content to really make your applicants turn into great hires and brand advocates.
Absolutely. Thanks, Elise. And I know everybody on the line, we're about 15, 20 minutes from, the end of the hour, and we definitely want this to be interactive. So type in questions if you have them. I'm just going to, finish up by talking through a lot, we've covered so much about getting the candidates in the door, which I know is some of the hardest part. I'm going to quickly cover kind of what to do and how to nurture applicants once they turn into hires and make those hires brand advocates for the long run, because we all know how depressing it is when you have to refill a role or lose the candidate because they came in and weren't set up for success. So let's talk through some of those steps to turning those hires into brand advocates for the long haul. So one of the ways that you can do this is treating every applicant like a potential customers. And I know we mentioned this theme at the beginning, but employees are, candidates are consumers, your employees are, this whole process, we're all the same people. Think about, how you would want to be treated at your own organization. Like I said, it's all about putting yourself in the candidate's shoes. That's the same for your employees. Make sure that you're monitoring reviews on Glassdoor. And I always say the interview process is that first impression of your employer brand. So you've worked so hard to establish this message on who you want to be as an organization. Monitor interview reviews and make sure that everybody has a positive experience. We even do this at Glassdoor, and you can actually respond to those reviews as well. So, we found at Glassdoor that in one of our interviews that the hiring manager had looked at his phone during the interview, and this came up in an interview review. We responded to it, addressed it, and then we also made a change at our organization. Nobody can have cell phones in interviews anymore. It's sometimes just making those small little tweaks and changes when you've worked so hard to create the company that you work for that can make sure that everybody has a positive experience for the long run.
Definitely. Sorry, Alicia.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that every single person across any touch point could, they could become a candidate, they could become an applicant, they could become a customer, or they could become a detractor. One wrong touch point and they're leaving a Glassdoor review. So just really be conscious of how you're presenting your employer brand across every single touch point.
Absolutely. Make sure that as a brand how you're being received by your audience. Yep. 100%. And provide that transparent view into your culture. We talked about this at the beginning. Transparency is so important nowadays, and that's, this is what the internet is doing to every decision that we make. We have that research and knowledge online, and we as consumers use that resource. We as candidates and employees look at all that information and make educated decisions for ourselves. And I love the Why Work For Us section on Glassdoor pages. Make sure you check that out, because that can be a great way to list kind of who you are as an organization, what your culture is supposed to be like. We all know, great companies like HubSpot and Netflix and some other organizations have taken the time to build out a culture code that every employee can live by. You can highlight those things on the Why Work For Us section of your Glassdoor page so that candidates coming to the page can really make an educated decision with the reviews from the people on the inside and also that message that you've worked so hard to create as the employer. And here's a quick stat on that. Culture and engagement is the #1 challenge faced by companies around the world, according to a recent survey of businesses and HR leaders that was from Global Human Capital Trends. Culture is going to become more and more important. It's really, that's the foundation of your organization. And we teamed up with HubSpot to create a culture code, cookbook, and template if you want to check that out. It might spark some ideas, and look at other companies. How did Patagonia create their culture, or Netflix, or HubSpot, or even, companies like Glassdoor. We create a culture internally that we can hold people accountable to. So just, make sure that you're starting those discussions and building the case for why it's so important as a recruiter to have that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to use those in touch points after apply. So if your recruiters are reaching out, use an employee story. Culture fit is so huge, and after someone applies and goes through the interview process, you want to be very warm. You want to give them that inside look into your culture. Send them a video, send them a quick video, send them an employee story. Those recruiter touch points in between apply and hire, that's really going to make them really more interested in your employer brand. So those little snippets of content is a great way to continue that nurture.
Absolutely, and I just went and spoke to a company recently, and what I always say to look at as well is look at who's declining, the job offer and why that occurred. On Glassdoor, when they leave interview reviews, that person has to say where they came from when they applied, and also if they wound up accepting the job offer. A lot of times by just seeing, looking at like the declined ones, you can see what themes are popping up. Maybe it's that your interview process is taking too long, and that's causing you to miss out on great candidates. Or, in some cases, maybe your interview just really didn't impress them. It wasn't hard enough. We have a chief economist on staff at Glassdoor. He publishes fantastic reports based on all the data that we have, because we get a ton of data, obviously, from users, and we know a lot about them because they give us all of this great information. And he found that, the sweet spot for, like, how difficult should an interview really be. If they rate around 4.5, that's when people are really having a positive experience with the interview because it's challenging, but then if you cross that line and it's too challenging, it turns into a negative experience. So check out some of his reports on how to find, a good balance. He also published a report on, what was the best source of a job match at companies, and I'm sure this is no surprise. It was employee referrals. The more that your own people on the inside can bring in like-minded people just like themselves to come and work for you, the better. That those led to the most job matches at a company, and we looked at the top 30 employers that had the most employee referrals reported on Glassdoor, and their average percent of employees inside that would recommend them to a friend was 75%. So go on your Glassdoor page, check out what that is at your own company, and don't get discouraged. On average, nearly 49% of Glassdoor users would recommend their employees to a friend. So I know hopefully in the future as we all work on our own organization, you can really strive to have that be, a high number that is helping you get referrals in the door.
And yeah, just a really quick point here on referrals. At SmashFly, we referrals are so important, but we also think that the refer is extremely important too. So in terms of nurture, keep that refer in the loop. That's really that internal advocate. So in terms of nurturing, keep that person in the loop on the status, and really make them be that advocate, because that's who's going to help your referral really feel that employer brand and culture and really want to work.
Absolutely, and employer branding and culture and all of that, it's not a set it and forget it strategy. This constantly needs to be something at your organization that you're working on, honing in on. I know at Glassdoor we're expanding like crazy, so we're constantly focused on that and how to maintain the great culture that we've created when we were, a small company, and keeping that for the long haul. So make sure that you're, having those discussions. Checking in with recent hires can be super helpful. Make sure that you have 30, 60, 90-day check-ins. We have a great toolkit in our resources section at glassdoor.com/employers. And the employee engagement toolkit, it gives you some great ways to kind of do this by asking for feedback and signatures, putting posters up at the wall, reiterating it at company huddles. A lot of great, unique ideas that you can utilize there. And for me personally, it took my own department head actually saying, hey, we need to take care of this organization, and we need to hear from every single person in this room how they really feel about what it's like to work there. That really resonated for me, and I finally sat down and was like, okay, this is my review for Glassdoor, and it was so invigorating. So go through that process as well as an employee and see what it's like. And I got a response to my review, and it just felt so great going through that process that I encourage everybody to kind of do that as well. And I know great companies like Square and Twitter I'll mention as well, after the interview completes, they ask, everybody that came in for an interview to go and leave a review. So these could just have great checkpoints to monitor and audit your organization and your culture that you've worked so hard on. And just to wrap up, on Glassdoor, we typically see that candidates and applicants are much more qualified because they have all this research at their disposal. So this is what our employers say. This is what Brandon Hall's report found when they looked at all of our applicant quality. And they also see a 30% lower cost per hire.
Okay, great. Well, I think that this sort of wraps it up. So before we get into the questions, I think that Alicia will just give a little bit on Glassdoor for employers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, go through the candidate journey. Not all job boards are created equal. Make sure you're posting your jobs where candidates are actively looking for you, and that you partner with sites that can really target the candidate on your behalf and make your job a lot easier to, again, find that needle in the haystack that you're looking for a lot quicker.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been seriously an awesome webinar. I love presenting with you, Alicia. Really quick on SmashFly, just so everyone knows, SmashFly is marketing automation for recruiters. So we're a leading recruitment marketing platform that manages your outbound sourcing, your inbound recruitment marketing, and your employer branding in one platform that will integrate with your ATS. So we're really sitting above the ATS and handling email marketing, mobile, job distribution, career sites, social, referrals, all in one. So come read our blog at blog.smashfly.com or follow us on Twitter or me. We're happy to talk recruitment marketing at any time. So ask a question or just say hi. And thanks for attending. So I think we're going to get to questions now.
Thanks, Elise. Thanks, Alicia. What a great presentation. So informative and interesting. Lots of great stats sprinkled in there as well. Awesome. So we have a ton of questions coming through. We have about 6 minutes to answer. So we'll kick it right off. Elise, I'm going to send this one to you. We've gotten several questions regarding some of the examples that you shared. For example, the Cheesecake Factory's 182 hires just from a nurture campaign. So could you talk a little bit about the technology that would enable a talent acquisition team to make this happen?
Yes. So basically, well, the Cheesecake Factory is a SmashFly customer, so they use our platform, which is a recruitment marketing platform, and like I just described, that's basically handling all of your recruitment marketing tactics up front. So you'll be able to have a talent network. It also has a CRM, so you're going to be able to see your social recruiting, your email marketing. You're going to be able to host all of your leads in that CRM. And you're going to be able to build those pipelines. You can see everything within the SmashFly platform. And we like to say it's like an agnostic source of truth, right? So you're not getting data from all different inputs and outputs. SmashFly tracks everything. So in terms of a nurture strategy, it's really important to be able to see the data all side by side and really track your email, your email opens, what people are clicking on, A/B test your job ads. Everything funnels in one. So in terms of technology, you're really going to need a CRM, but really a recruitment marketing platform is going to give you that holistic view of all the analytics as well, which is, as we talked about, that data is key in really understanding how many hires you get because it integrates with your ATS, and it's also going to help you optimize your strategy.
Great. Thanks, Elise. Alicia, this might be a good one for you. When we talked about content, we talked about a great source of content would be your Glassdoor reviews by employees and also by candidates. So do you have any ideas of ways that the folks on the call can incentivize either candidates and or employees to leave more reviews on Glassdoor and help create that nurture content?
Yeah. So at Glassdoor, we actually don't preach to incentivize employees to leave reviews, but there are, ways that you can build in to your employee engagement strategy to encourage them to be active on social media, promote your company, and also give feedback about what it's really like to work there. And I think a lot of that as an employer is really being true to reading and responding to those reviews. I know that really helps. Like I said, this question might have been asked before I got to the employee engagement toolkit, but that has great advice in there. We also have 8 employee engagement templates. You can actually go into the Glassdoor platform by signing up for a free employer account and send emails to employees from the Glassdoor platform, and we have a bunch of templates that you can copy and paste in, and you can do that by department. If you're seeing that candidates are coming in and they're applying for a role that doesn't have any reviews, that can be really discouraging because those employee reviews really help a candidate make a decision on whether or not they want to work there. If they don't know somebody, hearing from another employee, like I said, can really be the ticket that makes all the difference. So lots of different ways that you can do that. Send emails, include it in your signature, preach it at all hands, have posters, stickers, and just encourage employees to be active at creating and being part of your own culture. You can't implement changes unless you're really getting that real-time feedback.
Awesome advice, Alicia. Thank you. I forgot to answer the number one most asked question. We've gotten this about 20 times already just on this webinar. Will you be receiving a copy of the slides and the recording? And the answer is yes. We will be sending those via email within the next 24 hours, so please be on the lookout for those. That's just about all the time we have for questions today. Alicia, Elise, thank you so much for hosting this amazing webinar, really enlightening on what companies can do with recruitment marketing and their employer brand. And don't forget to visit the SmashFly blog. We got a ton of questions that we weren't able to answer, so we'll be doing a Q&A wrap-up of all of the questions, and we'll answer them on our blog. So thank you for joining us today. Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elise.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.